Mr. Speaker, I'd ask for a little bit of leeway. This is debate after all. There have been many characterizations on the other side about what this report was or was not. I think it is just as equally fair to characterize the actions of the good lady from District 7 as weaponizing an assault claim against a 19-year-old. Now, you may not like the characterization, but it is accurate. Her name was placed before the public when all she had done was come to people who held positions of responsibility in this body and ask for help. That's all she'd done. She had explained to this body, a representative from this body, that she knew she was to report to that something had happened to her and she needed help. And luckily, that individual took the claim seriously. And we know that because we have reports that tell us that. They took it seriously. They got her help. And then, rather than sit back and find out what happened, like the vast, vast, vast majority of our members did, the good lady from District 7 took it upon herself to decide what had happened here without having a police report, without having interviews, without really knowing what was happening. And so on April 16th, 2021, she made a post. The post itself included a picture of Jane Doe and a link. The attorney, the former Attorney General that more than one member of this body has referred to during this debate, the representative of the now former representative who was accused of sexually, a 38-year-old representative who was accused of sexually assaulting a 19-year-old woman. That attorney sent an email to the good lady from District 7 on April 19th, letting her know that unredacted witness information should be destroyed and should not be disseminated. Now, that email came after she had already sent the information out, but it is certainly true that she knew from an attorney that she shouldn't continue to justify that behavior, that even under the law, it was wrong. But furthermore, it's just wrong. The vast, vast, vast majority of the members of this body didn't need to be told it was wrong. We just knew it. When we heard she had done it, we thought, how could you do that? Especially if you, like I've had 19-year-old kids, gone to college, left my house. They weren't very ready to be out in the world. They did their best. They learned from their experiences. But had somebody done something like this to one of my kids? It's wrong. Back in 1987, when I graduated from high school and I went to West Point, I was introduced to a concept called the long gray line. I didn't really know what it was about. I didn't even know I was going to an engineering school.
We don't speak like that on the floor. I object. You should have caught that one.
Sorry, Your Honor, Mr. Speaker, I didn't realize I'd used the word. It's my time in the military. But
I'm not clear on what the objection was.
Oh, I said the word hell.
Oh, the word hell?
The word hell.
Well, that is an extraordinary word that,
I shouldn't have used it.
Mr. Speaker, I would make a point of order. We're far outside the contents of the report.
I'm going to allow, we have been outside, and we're going to, frankly, And I believe that the gentleman's point that he's going to make will be every bit as salient as any of the other points. So go ahead.
We were introduced to this idea of the long gray line. And what it stood for was the idea that although we were currently attending West Point, there had been many who had come before. Many who had gone on to careers of distinction. Some had just gone back to their communities. They were business leaders. They were military leaders. Some had died on battlefields. What we knew is that although we were there now, they had once been there. And we had an obligation to them to protect the integrity of the institution. It was not our right to treat it as a plaything, as our own little toy, as something we could use to further our own careers. We had an obligation to the body as a whole, and we took it seriously. And when old grads would show up for football games in the fall, and they would walk around, and we would see them there, we took great pride in making sure they understood that we knew that we had an obligation to the institution and that we were taking care of it. And that same obligation, frankly, goes to those who followed us. And that's why when I'm done at the end of the day, and I usually stay a little later because I've got work to do back home, my law practice takes a little longer, it actually becomes one of my favorite times in this building. When nobody else is here, maybe a security guard, but you can walk the halls and you can look at the pictures of those who have gone before us, and especially on that garden level as you get ready to walk out the doors. And you can see pictures of people who have served long before we were even a gleam in our dad's eye or our mom's eye. They're people that came from your communities, whose greatest pride was being able to say that they had been elected by their community members to represent them here. That's important. That was important to them, just as it's important to us. They weren't perfect, but they knew this job was important. Part of that respect for the institution, for making sure that we treat it as those who came before us would have us do and those who come after us would have us do, is that we have certain standards here. And that when we have a member who has violated those standards, that we call it out. And that we call it out not just for ourselves, but so that the state can understand, our community members can understand, we have standards and we recognize bad behavior. This was bad behavior. It was wrong. The good lady from District 7 knows it was wrong. She was taught better at the United States Air Force Academy, the same principles and standards of responsibility and character I was taught at West Point. The same standards those of us who have been in the military understand. You don't earn character by a single event or even in a single year. It's something you have to prove every single day of your life. And if you think you don't have to, try. People know when you failed to show character. That's why the committee report was right, and that's why I'm voting for it.